the cost of being a Christian loner. That's the topic today on the table, because over the next 2 days, we're reading about the one body text, many members, one body, that dynamic of the local church that Paul pictures for us in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 to 31, which we read together over the next 2 days on Friday and Saturday that's coming up. And I know this text applies to the topic at hand. Today, Pastor John is joining us over the telephone to address the question from a podcast listener named Joe, who lives in New Jersey. Hello, Pastor John, Joe writes. On social media, you once wrote this: Christ did not die to create saved loners. He died to create Christ-exalting friendships. Can you please explain this? A lot of Christians are loners, many of them hurting, perhaps victims of the church, perhaps they are victims of the lies that they believe. Pastor John, how would you encourage or motivate Christian loners?
There are a lot of Christian loners, some by choice and some not by choice. And my point was, God's aim in the death and resurrection and work of Christ today is to move people beyond that stage. If they're in it, if you're in a stage where you are a Christian loner because you want to be, or you're a Christian loner because you feel like people have given you no choice but to be, God sent His Son to change that. He wants to move you not just to be a soul-satisfied friend of Jesus, but to be a soul-satisfied friend to friends, so that you experience Jesus through others as well as directly. And here's where that came from, Tony. I preached from 2 Timothy 4, where Paul said, "At my first defense, no one stood by me. Everybody deserted me. But the Lord stood by me and strengthened me." Now, you could take that verse and say, see, he didn't need people. Jesus was his friend. Jesus will never fail. People will always fail you. I'm tired of dealing with people. They're just fickle and they let you down. And I'm going to be like Paul and have the Lord stand by me. And if everybody forsakes me, that's their problem. I've got Jesus. That is totally not what Paul experienced in that chapter, because he said just a little bit later to Timothy, do your best to come to me before winter. And he said a little earlier, Luke alone is with me. Get Mark, bring him with you. He is useful to me in the ministry. This is Paul's heart in all of his letters. Paul hated being in ministry alone. When he was forced to go alone to Athens, first thing he did was send back, please get Timothy and the team down here as soon as you can. I don't want to be here in this city by myself. And so I think it stands that Christ died so that we would not be Christian loners, but would be in Christ-exalting friendships. Because, if you say, why? It's because there's more of Christ to be known in Christ-exalting friendships. You know, I don't want to twist the arm of a loner and say, you ought to do this and it's your duty to do this. I want to say, you're missing something. Really missing something. There is more of Christ to be known. There's more of God to be known. God said to a happy man, it is not good for you to be alone. And Paul said to a church, the eye can't say to the hand, I have no need of you. The head can't say to the feet, I have no need of you. They can't. And if you're a head or an eye or a hand or a finger or a pinky or a big toe standing off by yourself saying, I don't need them, you're wrong. Paul says you're wrong. So here's my encouragement. First of all, to the loners who think they don't need others, I would say you're kicking against the pricks. God has more for you, much more of himself than you will have on your own. And the thing I'd say by way of encouragement to the Christian loner who feels that he or she has no choice, that they've been kicked into loneliness, I would say, I'm sorry for what has happened to you. I'm sorry that that's been done to you. And I would say, please, don't give up on the one never failing friend because other friends have failed you. And I would say, for the sake of Christ, forgive those who have failed you. Unforgiveness is suicidal. It hurts you more than it hurts them. And I would say, move toward a Bible-preaching church with the prayer that God will guide you. He has a community for you. Trust Him for this. And I would say, finally, be for others what you long for them to be for you.
Thank you, Pastor John. And if you're looking to belong within a good and healthy local church, and you want to know what you should be looking for in seeking out a good and healthy local church, there's quite a lot of factors to consider, actually. And we've covered this topic of finding a good local church so often and so thoroughly over the years here on the podcast. I tried to take all of those episodes and digest them together, bring them together in the Ask Pastor John book on pages 417 to 428 to make it easier for you to navigate those episodes, page 417 to 428 of the Ask Pastor John book. Well, you know that feeling you get when you're waiting for a package to arrive, the anticipation, and that it does, and that little hit of excitement you get when you see the box on your doorstep. You grab it, tear open the box, and within like 5 minutes, the thrill is gone. New thrills wear off so very quickly in this life. It's just a major failing of our fallen nature to be so easily bored. So how do we know that heaven will not grow boring to us after 1,000,000 years? It's the question from a young man named Mason. Great one. Up next time, I'm Tony Reinke. See you on Monday.